Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Friday afternoon edition of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Bo Wolf, Zach Berman. A big weekend, Zach. You know, there's the first game of the NFC East slate for the Eagles. They play the Washington Commanders on Sunday, but bigger than that on Sunday, we got a big birthday coming up.
That's correct. It's my wife Emily's birthday, so if she's watching the top of the show, happy early birthday.
Happy birthday from me.
Yes.
What are we doing to celebrate?
Spending quality time.
Okay, that's all you're going to give us?
Yeah, we're going out to dinner.
Spending quality time. You two will just be sitting in a room together, staring into each other's eyes. Happy birthday, Emily.
Right? We're because the game is on Sunday.
Yes.
So we're going to celebrate on Saturday and then tonight as well.
Okay. Any particular message you'd like to send to your lovely birthday wife?
I will tell her in person. I certainly don't need to broadcast it here, but yeah, I'm very lucky. Actually,
Okay.
AJ Brown said happy birthday.
Of the two people on the show right now, one of them is excited about Emily's birthday. That would be me. Zach seems a little bit put upon.
Not at all. Happy birthday. AJ Brown wished her happy birthday as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How did he know?
It's AJ Brown's son's birthday today. Happy birthday to AJ Brown's son. It's his first birthday today.
Okay. And so who said it was birthday related first? He said it was his son's birthday. You said, it also happens to be my wife's birthday this weekend?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And he said, tell her AJ said happy birthday.
Okay.
So, but anyways,
that's pretty good.
This is our first Friday show together.
That's true.
Or first Friday leading into a game. We did a Friday after a Thursday night game.
Right.
And Fridays always have a typical feel.
But it is not first Friday because that's the first Friday of every month.
Correct. It's the first Friday pregame show that we are doing.
Yes.
And as I was saying, Fridays have a typical feel to them. You know, a football week has a rhythm. And when you get to Friday, it's like the hay is in the barn.
Didn't we do a Friday show before the Monday show? It just wasn't before a Sunday game.
Yes, that's my point. It was a Thursday for the team.
Right.
Okay. So this is the first time, at the team facility, Fridays have a certain feel. After practice, they're off for the rest of the day.
Locker room's typically a little bit more diluted.
Players are buzzing out. They're literally getting a buzz. You know, Fridays, a lot of guys
drinking?
No, a buzz in terms of a haircut.
Okay.
Sorry. Players get haircuts typically on Fridays, some coaches come through the locker room to get their Friday haircut. Actually, back in the day, I remember we used to see Corey Unlin every Friday, and I won the former defensive backs coach, and I
usually in sandals, big sandals guy, Corey Unlin.
I said to Corey, what do you come in for every Friday? I was wondering if they were going over last minute defensive notes, and he says, no, I'm getting my haircut. I said, oh, okay, there goes that story.
Did you ever notice Corey Unlin's toes?
I've never noticed Corey Unlin's toes. I've never once thought about Corey Unlin's toes.
Interesting. Got some interesting toes.
Why don't you finish? Finish your thought here.
Like he's got the toes of a man who played some football in his time. It's like
Gotcha.
Got some, but he's proud of him. He wears sandals a lot. Shout out to Corey Unlin.
Shout out to Corey Unlin.
Whether it's his birthday or not.
A nice guy, nice coach.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that. Yeah. All right, Zach, we've got plenty to get to. We're going to do our Goose Wisely. Later in the show, we're going to do our Crystal Ball Eagle predictions, but you were at the facility today. You talked to Nick Sirianni. You talked to A.J. Brown about his son's birthday. What can you tell us? What's the scoop? What's the latest?
Yeah, so the big story to watch going into this weekend will be the Eagles' safeties. The good news for the Eagles is that at the portion of practice I was able to attend, which on Fridays is a very limited period, Justin Evans had his helmet and was out there. That's a good sign because both Justin Evans and Sidney Brown missed practice on Thursday. Sidney Brown, it still didn't appear that he was going to practice, so it's unlikely he will play. But Justin Evans, the fact that he was on the practice field, we'll get the report probably during the show. We'll see specifically what his status is, but that's that's a big one to monitor because they only have 2 healthy safeties otherwise. And as we've discussed, they could either elevate Tristan McCollum from the practice squad. I actually think pay attention to Keely Ringo as an emergency safety.
Oh, interesting.
That's just something I would watch for if it got to that point. It obviously doesn't need to get to that point.
Feels like you've done a little reporting behind that.
But in addition to that, Sidney Brown was playing the slot, obviously, last week. So without Sidney Brown, this also affects what you do in the slot. And we'll get into it with the matchup, but I think something to be mindful of is maybe you bring Mario Goodrich up for this week. Well, he's already on the roster, but dress him for this week in uniform. I know you're going to say he's dressed for every game. Yeah, I knew where you were going with that one, Bo.
Naked Mario Goodrich on the sideline.
I am
just
on
as a distraction ploy.
Because the wide receivers for Washington are different than the wide receivers from Tampa Bay, right? You have
That's
more
true.
smaller.
It would be not. Yeah, it wouldn't. I mean, the rules of the league.
You know what I mean. You're not facing these big physical guys, so maybe this is more of a Goodrich matchup. Anyways, that's something that we will get into. As far as the locker room, caught up with Jalen Carter, caught up with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, you might recall when you were watching the game, he was wearing these highlight green
neon
cleats during the first half. He changed at the urging of, the head of equipment for the Eagles, Greg D, told him he had to change, but it was from the league. Okay, he wasn't allowed to wear those. He said he was trying to get away with. What are
they going to do? Kill him?
A shade of gray. No, they were going to fine him.
Yeah.
I think like $7,000 for that. He changed it just in time. He thinks the rule sucks, and he wants everyone.
The rule is ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
he wants everyone in the league just to wear the cleats that they want. And if they do that, he thinks, will they really fine the whole league? But do you know why he wears that color?
Well, I do because I read your tweet.
Oh, okay. Well, he wears that color. For those who haven't read my tweet, at ZBerm on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, he wears those so his daughter can spot him on television. So
his daughter, who does not have a birthday today.
No, but his daughter's brother has a birthday today.
There you go. Yeah. Nicely done.
Of course, you remember when A.J. Brown's son was born last year. You were in the locker room.
When the son was born?
Yes.
I mean, shortly thereafter.
Yeah,
I don't think that's where the son was born.
Okay.
I also once wrote about those fines that the players get.
Great piece.
Socks. Big thing on socks.
Yes. So Devontae Smith, speaking about socks, right? I was like, that's what those in the business call transition.
Yes, and what's really good about the people in the business who are good at transitions is they make sure to also call out how good the transition was.
So Devontae Smith was absent yesterday. He had an illness. I saw him in the locker room today. He was wearing a mask.
Like a Bane mask?
No, like the masks we wore when we attended games in 2020.
Okay.
In 2021. So Devontae Smith was back at practice today. Good sign for the Eagles. We'll see how the rest of the injury report looks, but that's the big news. As far as Nick Sirianni was concerned, this isn't a big week as far as like pressing things that he needs to address. A lot of this was about kind of the zone read per se, and they're not running it less, but their defenses might be not. Well, I guess defenses aren't allowing Jalen to pull it as much, right? So he compared it actually to what you see on defense, where Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat are getting chipped more. I should add, I spoke to Hassan Reddick yesterday. Hassan Reddick's cast came off, and he's hopeful that this will. He doesn't want to make excuses, but he was smiling widely at the idea that he doesn't have to play with that cast on his thumb. He has a pretty gnarly scar on his thumb, but he got clearance. He's free to play without it, and he's optimistic about how that will help him.
Well, since you seem to have so many birdies just telling you about the plans in the secondary, I'm curious, because Justin Evans practiced today, do you imagine that he will retain his starting position, or do you think he will be the backup and Terrell Edmonds, having had the full week of practice, will be the guy starting alongside Reed Blankenship?
It's a good question. I'm still saying Justin Evans.
Okay.
But you bring up a good point about the full week of practice and that Justin Evans' status being uncertain. Perhaps they've built this game plan with Edmonds and Blankenship in mind, and that could be the way they go.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious to see. You're so focused. This is the opposite of our usual roles. Usually I'm the one focused on the backups. You're the one focused on the starters.
Yeah, well, no, I was focused on kind of what their plans would be and trying to figure out what they might do in case of an emergency. You know, when they break glass, you want to know where they turn, and that's what a good reporter tries to do.
There you go. Call himself a good reporter, and me a bad one, apparently.
Not at all, Bo.
All right, Zach. What's the line on this game?
The line is 9, the last I checked. I actually have the page, DraftKings Sportsbook, in front of me. The Eagles are -9, okay, and -425. By the way, good thing, I hope you didn't bet on that Lions-Packers game last night.
Yeah, I did not.
You really like that Packers number.
I didn't say I really liked it. If I did, I would have bet it. I didn't bet it.
It didn't come to fruition, yeah. So this game, the Eagles, big favorites, 9-point favorites. It's a 43-point over and under. And as I said, the Eagles are -425. And you can find that on DraftKings Sportsbook.
Okay, so everybody who's listening, do the math in your head. You'll figure out exactly what Zach's prediction will be at the end of the game, or at the end of the show today. But while we turn our attention to the matchup, a reminder about DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw 5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football is more fun when you're in on the action, so download the app now and sign up with code PHLY. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code PHLY. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles in Louisiana, 21 and older, age varies by jurisdiction, void in ONT. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
A real quick thing. I know we're focused on the Commanders game this week, and we will discuss that.
Well, you're already looking ahead.
And I know you're not supposed to look ahead, but I have my Twitter feed in front of me here. And it's worth bringing this up because Jordan Rodriguez, the outstanding Rams reporter for The Athletic, she's reporting that Sean McVay said today he's practicing next week about Cooper Kupp. And that's relevant, of course, because the Eagles play the Rams next week. So we'll get to that. We'll have 4 shows next week to discuss that. But you can't control when news comes out, and news came out.
Bulletin board material for Jack Del Rio that Zach Berman is overlooking the Washington Commanders on Sunday.
Sure, you know what's on Jack Del Rio's bulletin board.
I think the things that are on Jack Del Rio's bulletin board would scare anybody. Oof.
Staying away from that one.
Yes, I know you are.
Okay.
All right, Zach. Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. The spread is 9. Mm-hmm. That feels a little bit high to me for a division matchup. A Commanders team that came into the link and ended the Eagles' unbeaten streak to start last season. If this game were to turn and it was going to be another Commanders upset, what do you think that would look like?
My guess is it looks similar to how it looked last year when the Commanders beat them, which is the Commanders control the clock. I don't think they're going to have the same strategy that they did a year ago because the Eagles have a better run defense this year, and it's a different offensive
It's so interesting. They play so many more even fronts, 4 down linemen, so much more, and the defense, like the run defense, is so much better than it was a year ago.
Yeah, I think the personnel is a big part of that. Having a healthy Jordan Davis affects it quite a bit.
Well, and a better Jordan Davis.
Yes, and a better Jordan Davis, but Jordan Davis, of course, didn't play in that game. Now,
I also think that, for all of Javon Hargrave's many talents as a pass rusher, he was not a big factor in the running game. I think that's a part of it too.
Which was kind of ironic because he was a nose tackle in Pittsburgh.
Right,
yeah.
Right. We don't need to make this into a whole, relitigation of Jonathan Gannon. I know that we've done that plenty. But I do feel that I already have more confidence in this year's defense, even though it's a little bit less talented than I do in last year's version.
Well, the first 3 games have given reason to believe that this is going to be a good defense, even though they're less talented than a year ago. So I won't disagree with you there. I have confidence in this group, and I have confidence in what Sean Desai has been putting together. And that kind of ties into this. So you try to figure out, well, how's Washington going to play? And I think their best chance of winning is probably using that recipe from a year ago. Even though they don't have this great running offense, even though they don't have even though the Eagles' run defense is better, in that game, the Eagles held the ball for less than 20 minutes. It was like 19 plus. They turned the ball over a few times, right? We remember the Dallas Goedert play. We recall Quez Watkins fumbling it. So that led to it. And then the other thing, too, is you can say, or I can say, that Washington will be better, with the way they're built this year, with the way the Eagles defense is built this year, they'll be better served passing the ball. Sam Howell's been sacked, 19 times this season? So
9 times last week.
Yeah, so you have to be concerned, like, how many times are you going to drop him back? So I guess the recipe for this game is if the Eagles have untimely turnovers and Washington's able to keep the Eagles offense off the field, just because I think it showed yesterday when we did the exercise drafting the teams that offensively the Eagles just have so much more firepower and talent than Washington does.
I do think that, the strength of that Washington team is their front four. And I think it's fair to say that the Eagles' offensive line has been much better in, run blocking than in pass protection this season. I think it's possible that they could have, sort of a game-wrecking performance up front. I don't think the Eagles have been tested by a group like that. If I'm trying to project how this game could go wrong, that's sort of how I feel like it does, because we've already seen that Jalen Hurts has been just a little bit less comfortable in the pocket through the first 3 games than he was last season. If the pocket is collapsing a little bit, maybe that's what leads to the turnovers, and I think it's possible that they're also able to stop the run better than the opposing defenses the Eagles have seen so far.
That's a good point, and there is a lot of respect in that locker room for this Eagles defensive front. One thing that, for instance, I think was Brian Johnson said yesterday, that this is the best defensive front the Eagles will see maybe this year. And certainly the interior there with Payne and with Allen. And then we talked about the edges with Young and Sweat.
Hill.
I'm surprised you didn't draft Hill yesterday.
There's no need to draft him yesterday.
If you're as
He'll
high
be
on
involved
this guy,
in Goose Wisely. Don't worry about it.
Oh, it gives me something to look forward to.
As opposed to celebrating your wife's birthday,
which I'm very excited for. There's actually that's the highlight of my weekend.
Okay, wow. Usually you would never ever otherwise hear him say that covering the game is not the highlight of his weekend. That tells you how he feels about Emily.
Yes, that does for sure. But I am looking forward to covering the game as well. I want to make that clear. But yeah, I think that's the way the Eagles would lose this game, is if Washington possesses the ball. I see what you're saying about their front, and maybe they can force Jalen into uncomfortable situations. But I think the more the Eagles are on the field, the better it will be for the Eagles.
I actually think it's more likely to me that the Commanders would win this game when they have the ball by hitting a few timely passing plays. I don't see the formula of them running the ball 30 times working in this game like it did last season. Now, if the Eagles turn the ball over 3 times and they're just, sort of killing clock, maybe. But I think this Eagles run defense is much better than it was then.
For sure. The numbers bear that out. I know there's this idea that the Eagles really haven't faced a good running back. I think there's a lot of people in that building who look at Stevenson in New England as like a high caliber back, and the Eagles did a good job against him. So I understand the offensive line.
Exactly.
And the offensive line they're playing this week is not very good either.
Yeah, especially the interior. Yeah.
So this is where a big story in that locker room has been the way these defensive tackles have played, and you ID'd it before anyone else that it's the strength of this team. Or it's part of the strength of this defense.
I don't think I need credit for IDing that. That seems a little bit pandering.
I'm pandering to you?
You're giving me credit for that.
God, you really don't take credit well. God, wear that one. Yeah, you had a tweet. The defensive tackles are the new wide receivers. This was before all the Jalen Carter stories were out there.
I mean, everybody else is watching the same games.
Yeah, but you're an astute observer. Jalen Carter, in speaking to Jalen Carter today, he says he can take more snaps, right?
Right.
They've been slow playing him. He was asked if he's worried about hitting the rookie wall. He had not heard of the rookie wall before. And he says, I guess if that's a thing, but I don't think he's going to hit the rookie wall. I think what you see is what you're getting with Jalen Carter.
Speaking of walls, Zach, I think it is important for the people who've been watching all week to know that these walls, I was right. That is north, that is east, that is west, and that is south.
That is east over there.
Yes.
That is west behind you.
Yes.
That is north, and that is south.
Yes, that's what I said the other day. You said that was south.
Okay, well then every time I talk about DeAndre Swift, saying he went to school up there.
I can't speak for why you were turned around the other day.
Okay.
But
so Howie
just
Roseman,
on the very long list of arguments over the years, I just want to put that one on my ledger.
You can take it. It takes a man to admit he's wrong, and I was wrong.
There you go.
Okay.
You want to tell me about Game Time, Zach?
Yes. Once I pull this up here. But Game Time it's a great app for so many reasons.
I don't know that Game Time has tickets for the game I'm going to this weekend, but I am celebrating your lovely wife's birthday by going to her old stomping grounds. I'm going to Happy
State,
Valley for the very first time.
Yeah. You know what? Do they have Penn State UConn tickets for women's hockey? I don't know, but I'm sure they have Penn State football tickets among other games. For instance, if you want to see the Eagles game this weekend, maybe you are one of these fans who's like, I wish there were more 1 p.m. games. There's only 2 1 p.m. home games. This and Jonathan Gannon. When Jonathan
That'll probably
Gannon returns,
be flexed to primetime.
That was New Year. That's New Year's Eve. Maybe you don't want to spend New Year's Eve at the stadium, but this is a perfect fall day, first day of October, to head to the stadium. And you're saying, where can I get tickets at the last minute? Buying tickets to your favorite event should not be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. For instance, Jerry Seinfeld's coming to Philadelphia in the next few weeks. You can find those tickets on Game Time as well. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have, because it's always good to not stress and be fun and be hyped for the fun. What are some of the things that we like about the Game Time app? I personally like the image of the seat views, because if you're going to invest in a ticket, you want to know what it looks like. And then I'd like a good deal. I'll admit that. Lowest prices guaranteed. Has event cancellation protection and job loss protection. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event, and the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. If I pulled out my phone right now, you'd see the Game Time app on there and the PHLY code in addition.
Nicely done. One thing that it's 3 games. The samples are very small, and even in a season sample, it's only 17 games. But one thing that has jumped out to me in terms of the Eagles' offense is last year, Devontae Smith in the slot was such a skeleton key for the Eagles. It was like easy money. And just looking at the numbers, he was in the slot last year only 21.5% of the time, which was like 80th of the 110 qualifying receivers. But when he was in the slot, he was 3rd in target rate and 5th in yards per route run. It was 31 catches for 464 yards. That's like 40% of his production over the course of the season came in those, 20 or so percent of the slots, of the snaps he had in the slot. This year, he's taking those snaps about the same rate. It's at 19%, which is about the same. But 67th in target rate, 75th in yards per route run, just 4 catches for 15 yards. That's only 7% of the production that he's had this season in 3 games. I don't know if this is a case of opposing defenses are like, oh, Devontae's in the slot. They like to throw to him there, and they're putting attention to him, or if it's Jalen Hurts not seeing him, or if it's just that's not the way the offense is designed at the moment. But in terms of figuring out how to get everybody the ball and keep everybody happy, it feels like that is an area that they can go to over the next couple games.
Do you think they will?
I would think so.
You bring up a good point. I mean, Devontae, that's one of the things you like about him. You can move him around. You can often get a favorable matchup.
That is his superpower, right? Is
Yes.
He has such an unbelievable feel for space.
Yes.
And it's why he's so good along the sidelines. He reads defenses so well, and it does feel like, if they had a more prototypical outside receiver, like even if it was like a Mac Hollins type from those years ago, because they're not going to invest in a guy who really wants the ball, but somebody who would allow them to put Devontae in the slot a little bit more. I feel like that would be an interesting fit.
Like Joseph Ngata, perhaps.
No, I think they would probably need to do a little bit better than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're all about Mac Hollins, so
I'm not all of. I'm just saying.
No, I think you bring up a good point, and I think that look, Jalen Hurts hasn't had a 300-yard passing game yet, which I could say he's due. When you have the pass catchers that he has, I think they need to get these guys the ball more. You saw A.J. Brown just take these quick, easy completions and get the yards after the catch. We saw Devontae Smith in week 2 go deep downfield. Dallas Goedert hasn't really had that game yet. I'm waiting for a time when all 3 of them click. Perhaps it's this week, but I think with the matchup Washington presents, I would look at Devontae in the slot more. And now you're kind of limited when you are in 11 personnel with Olamide Zaccheaus. You probably want OZ in the slot as opposed to on the outside, but I have no issue moving them around.
Yeah, I think it's less about putting him in the slot more about finding why it is that the offense is not funneling the ball to him in those situations right now.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about matchup-wise here, Zach?
Matchup-wise, so A.J. Brown spoke about facing 25. That's Benjamin St-Juste.
Your boy.
Big corner from Montreal. I think that what I am especially looking at is Dallas Goedert's Eagles' use of 12 personnel. There's been a lot of gassing up of Jack Stoll in the building.
I feel like a little bit overstated.
Jack Stoll's been blocking well.
He's been blocking fine.
Personally, I'm not as big on 12 personnel as they seem to be. Now, I spoke to Dallas Goedert for a while this week about 12 personnel, kind of why you can be explosive out of 12 personnel. And he spoke about how the defense plays you when you're in 12, and that you can often get some mismatches downfield against the safety. They're dropping fewer people in coverage. They're heavier around the line of scrimmage, and you can often free yourself up downfield. So he thinks that there can kind of be this misperception.
It's a little bit reductive, but part of the appeal for the Eagles is that they can throw the ball out of 12 and they can run the ball out of 11, right? And if the defense is matching, then that's where your advantage is. It doesn't always work out that way, but in theory, that's the idea.
But I'm really paying attention to whether the Eagles can get these explosives, because you saw that last week. They had 7 plays of 20+ yards. They only had 4 of those in the first 2 weeks. So I think it's a big thing to watch. If they can get yards in chunks, it's going to be real advantageous here in this matchup. We spoke about the amount of time Sam Howell's been sacked. We spoke about the Washington offensive line. In talking to Hassan Reddick, he said that the D tackles have been eating, especially the young D tackles. And he said the young D tackles are playing better than he thought going into the year, and that it's going to kind of balance itself out, that they're going to be, he said he's been chipped so much in these first 3 games that he thinks there's going to be more attention that goes to the interior with the way those guys are playing. He'll get more one-on-ones, and the sacks will come in bunches. So pay attention to Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat.
What's your sense of the feeling in the building about the play of the linebackers, which it feels like has gotten a little bit better over the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think there's been...
I guess really just last week.
Zach Cunningham in particular, that they like, that the way Cunningham's played. Nicholas Morrow had a good game 2 weeks ago, I thought. And they're kind of getting by with that group. Nakobe Dean, I think, is progressing well. That's kind of the sense that I get. And he's eligible to come off IR after next week in Los Angeles. So that will certainly help. But I think they're getting by with these linebackers. I still think, I mean, I'm not reporting anything on here, but I still think that the Eagles have a move to make this season at either safety or linebacker, and I would actually watch for safety. I think there might be some sniffing around they could do there.
Wow. Put that one, save that one for later, so we can go back to it. All right, Zach, you ready for a little bit of Goose Wisely?
Am I ready? I'm pumped.
We're tied here. We've both won once. I think since you won last week, maybe you can offer the first one this week.
Okay. So my first Goose Wisely, and I am pulling it up here because I actually put a lot of thought into these, is DeAndre Swift rushes for 100 yards or Jalen Hurts reaches 300 yards passing.
Okay, now just because we need to be specific here, this is at least, right?
Yes.
We're not hitting these exactly on the
number. That would be quite the...
Okay.
I mean, Professor Shulman's already ripping on me for offering ones that don't hit.
This is a good one. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. I think that this game, to me, sets up a little bit more let's throw the ball than it does let's run the ball. Now, I don't know if they're able to run the ball as effectively as they have been, then obviously they're going to continue to do that. I do think that DeAndre Swift will continue to be getting the lion's share of the carries in the backfield. He's certainly capable, but I think this is a game where the Eagles may be putting it on Jalen Hurts' arm a little bit more.
So you're taking Jalen Hurts 300 yards passing. So I then have DeAndre Swift hitting 100 yards for the third consecutive week.
Which one would you have taken?
Jalen Hurts reaching 300 yards passing, for sure.
Okay. For sure, he says. Okay. For me, first up for you, Zach. Casey Toohill in this game will have either a sack or a TFL, or Sam Howell will throw a touchdown pass of at least 40 yards.
I'm going Sam Howell with a touchdown pass of at least 40 yards. I'm not predicting that will occur, but you have this fascination with Casey Toohill. I'm gonna
add on, if you want to redo this, also force fumble or fumble recovery. He's involved in a splash play.
Okay. I'm still gonna
or an interception were that to happen.
I'm still gonna go Terry McLaurin or Jahan Dotson.
Okay.
Now
Sam Howell has not thrown the ball downfield very often, but those guys do have some game-breaking speed that they could run past people. Certainly, the Eagles' safeties, if it's Terrell Edmonds, could be taken advantage of.
Yeah, Tyler's a big Penn State fan. He's producing the show today, and he saw Jahan Dotson get deep downfield quite often when he was in Happy Valley, and I can see perhaps Dotson gets one or Terry McLaurin. Now, Darius Slay, I like to speak to Darius Slay every week about the wide receivers. He gives such good analysis on the wide receivers, and he said with Terry McLaurin, what jumps out to him is just like how hard he plays. He says every single rep, he's trying to win. And I think, you might take that for granted, but sometimes when the ball's not going to a wide receiver, or if it's like a running play.
There are certain people in the Eagles building who would feel that way, yeah?
Yeah, like they're just like, all right, I'm just going to go through the motions. He says like every single time Terry McLaurin lines up, he's like going all out. So that's something that I thought that was cool in the analysis from Darius Slay.
I feel like that's somebody after your heart there.
Absolutely. Every rep counts. Yeah,
who you are all the time is who you are some of the time.
No, it's the other way. Who you are some of the time is who you are all of the time. Also, for instance, like
character counts.
Yeah, I used to think every article you never mail it in because that could be the one that someone sees and is like, I like this guy. I want to hire him to do X, Y, or Z.
Host an Eagles podcast.
Yes.
5 times a week.
A co-host on PHLY.
There you go. All right, you're up.
I am up here. So the Eagles have at least 6 sacks, or Hassan Reddick has at least 1 sack. Now, of course, both of these could occur.
Okay. Now, so a half sack doesn't count for Hassan Reddick.
For Hassan Reddick,
at least 1 sack.
Has to be at least 1 sack.
I'm definitely taking the Hassan Reddick has okay. 1 sack here over 6. I mean, 6 sacks is a lot. Sam Howell was sacked 9 times last week for sure.
How do you think I landed on 6?
Because he's been sacked 18 times in 3 games.
19 times in 3 games.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but I think Hassan Reddick. Yeah, you're telling me that his face is lighting up. He's got the cast off. He can use his thumb for all kinds of stuff now. I think it's about time Hassan Reddick gets on the sack board. I'll take Hassan Reddick.
he's got great jewelry, Hassan Reddick.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What in particular stands out to you?
He's just he's got nice jewelry. You can tell. Okay, so I then
like
have the 6X.
what appeals to you most? Like the watch, a necklace, a chain? What's going on?
No, he had on like a bracelet yesterday that I noticed.
Okay.
But no, he always is. He's well put together in that regard.
Okay. I mean, you say something like that. It's not my fault for asking a follow-up.
Yeah, I'm just giving him a compliment.
Okay.
On the air, in case he watches.
All right.
Now, Hassan Reddick, of course, went to college that way.
Yes.
Okay? Because that is north.
Correct.
And Hassan Reddick grew up that way.
Correct.
Okay? Because that is east.
I'm glad you're catching on.
Okay? Yes. And Hassan Reddick practices that way. No.
No. That's the whole problem. That's exactly what you did yesterday. You said Howie was that way.
Hassan Reddick practices that way.
Yes.
Okay, yes. And
Howie doesn't work at the zoo.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Next up, this is a good, I think, throwback one you're going to like, Zach. Sort of a new wrinkle here. Somebody on the Eagles has at least 2 receptions of the same yardage at some point over the course of the game. So A.J. Brown has 2 catches for 10 yards. Could be anybody. Could be Dallas Goedert has 2 catches that both go for 2 yards. At any point over the course of the game, there's an overlap with the same player on receptions. Or DeAndre Swift either scores 3 touchdowns or tops 150 yards from scrimmage.
Rushing yards or yards from scrimmage?
I'll give you yards from scrimmage.
Okay. So the latter is easy for me to understand.
Correct.
But I don't think he's going to score 3 touchdowns or have 150 plus yards from scrimmage. So I'm going with the former. Unless there's the chat here. Do you guys think I should go with the? Do you think I should go with the weird Bo one, or should I go with the improbable 150 or 3 touchdowns?
I mean, far be it from me to tell you what to do. You have to do what's right for you and your family. But I would say we're weighing, do you back DeAndre Swift or do you let Bo have, or do you take away a very silly thing from Bo?
So I appreciate anyone who is watching on a Friday afternoon here on September 29th. And so I'm going to go with the crowd. This is like this is like polling the audience and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. People are saying go with the same yards. Claire F. is a loyal viewer. Khalif is a loyal viewer. So I'm going to follow what they say and go with the same yards.
Okay.
If you had to phone a friend in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, who would you have phoned?
Well, what's the question?
Okay.
I got different people have different expertise.
A political question. Or like a political history question.
A political history question?
Yes.
I would probably call Michael Beschloss.
You know Michael Beschloss?
I mean, you didn't tell me I didn't know the person.
Well, in the phone a friend, it has to be someone. Have you ever watched Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah, I'm answering the question. I got his number somehow, and I'm calling him for a political history question.
Well, that's ridiculous. Okay. I do like his work, though.
Okay. Who would you call?
My grandfather. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For everything.
For everything?
For everything.
What if it was a pop music question?
Oh, certainly not him.
Wow, shots fired at Grandpa.
Yeah. Call my sister for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You're up.
Okay. So the Eagles have over 30 minutes of time of possession, or the Eagles have under 30 minutes of time of possession.
Oh, interesting. Just a straight up who wins the time of possession battle.
Yes.
This is good because this means that at least one of them will hit.
Yes.
Well, not necessarily. They could be exactly tied. That would be fun. I'm going to go ahead and say the Eagles here. I mean,
What's the Eagles?
Oh,
for
the
both of
over.
them?
The over.
Okay.
Yeah, the Eagles are going to win the time of possession.
Okay.
I mean, they're favored by 9 points. I'm going to bet on them being the team who dominates and controls the game. So I will take over 30 minutes.
And of course, last year they had under 20 minutes in that game. Yeah, that was in Philly. The game in
And
Washington.
the last 2 weeks, they've had almost 40 in both
the
games.
game in Washington, the Week 3 game, man, Carson Wentz got beat up. Remember that one?
I certainly do.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that last year's Commanders game, that first one, is sort of a good indication of like some of the little things that are due to regress year in and year out, like those plays that Devontae Smith made down the field in contested catches. Like those were not dissimilar throws to the one Jalen Hurts made last week on the D. Delaney interception, right? Like you're going to throw a bunch of those up. You're probably not going to connect on those more often than not. So
That's a good point.
yeah.
Those were remarkable catches in Washington last year.
Dynamite. Thank you.
Astute observation.
What are you holding back on? It seems like you're trying not to laugh about something.
No, the PHLY Sports had a funny thing up there. For the audio listeners, it's ZB over or under 30 minutes time of possession. Bo, yes.
Yeah, who's going to win the time of possession battle? And I said the Eagles.
Yeah. Bo's like the Eagles. So okay.
Okay. Never made a mistake over here. All right.
Which way south again?
Yeah, exactly. All right,
That's
Zach.
me being self-deprecating.
Tristan McCollum plays more snaps than Eli Ricks.
I don't think Tristan's going to be up for this game.
Well, then you can take... Or Nick Sirianni mentions Jacoby Brissett in the post-game press conference.
Can I ask him?
You can, but that means you are betraying your journalistic integrity.
Yeah, I can never betray my journalistic integrity, so I would not do that. And honestly, the integrity of my work is far more important than Goose Wisely. No disrespect to Goose Wisely.
I mean, none taken, but I mean, to say you would never betray your journalistic integrity, I mean, you're the one changing in Wawa parking lots and dropping in on high schoolers.
Excuse me? Excuse me, Bo? Bo, please clarify that comment. Okay.
Well, they're two separate things.
Okay, number one, dropping it. I said we passed Roman Catholic on the way to school.
You said you like to drive here early so that you can see the high schoolers going in.
That's not at all what I said, Bo. That is not at all what I said. That is not at all what I said. Jeez. Okay.
So you're going to take Jacoby?
I don't think I'll go with McCollum or Ricks at this point. I don't think he's going to mention.
Okay.
Well, no, because I think Ricks could be up for this game.
I don't think you understood the question there. Now it's your turn to not understand the question.
Okay, so yeah, please repeat the question. I was a little taken aback.
The item is that Tristan McCollum plays more snaps than Eli Ricks.
Okay, no, then I'll take Jacoby Brissett in the postgame.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's that far-fetched. All it takes is an injury.
Okay. God, Bo, I can't believe you. What kind of comment was that? That was horrible.
It's not horrible. Just filling in the people who may be watching for the first time this week.
Okay. Let me gather myself here. And this one's for Bo, okay, because Bo's favorite owner will be in the building this week.
Jeez.
A Sixers player is sitting with Josh Harris.
Okay, now let's clarify. They don't have to be sitting; they just have to be seen.
Yeah, they have to be
in
seen.
the booth.
So this is contingent upon the television camera showing Josh Harris. Okay.
Okay.
Which isn't always the case. Visiting owner, they might not, but given the circumstances, they might.
Well, it doesn't have to be on the broadcast. This could be like a photo taken from somebody in the stands,
yes.
right?
And a Sixers player is in the crowd. In the box that Josh Harris is sitting in. Okay? Or there are more total points in this game than Sixers wins last year.
Which was 54. And so it's total points in the game, not just Eagles points.
Yes. And the over-under is far below this.
Ooh, this is a good one.
Thank you. I did this when I was decidedly not doing what you mentioned before.
Listen, don't protest too much because then people are just going to think, this is a human trafficking T-shirt situation. What? It's a good tweet. All right. I think that I'm going to go with. I think I'm going to go with the points here because I, say what you will about Josh Harris. Boy, is he good looking. But I think that even he would not go so far as to put a Sixers player in the situation in which they are seen in Philadelphia, like ostensibly rooting against the Eagles.
You don't think you can be in Josh Harris's booth and root for the Eagles?
I think you are inviting a very specific type of Philly criticism. If you
when
do
do the Sixers leave for Colorado? I'm curious about that.
I think I think their media day is Monday, so I think they maybe
so
leave
all the
Monday,
Sixers will be in town, maybe except James Harden.
Yeah.
But okay, so I like this one, and I'm curious to see. Now you're a big Josh Harris guy, as we know. What do you think of the work he's done with the Commanders since he bought him?
Not much. He hasn't done anything.
Okay, he's invested. Have you not been reading the clips from the other markets? He's done a
great job of not being Daniel Snyder.
The ESPN story by I'm sorry. You really have me flustered. By Ramona Shelburne about Josh Harris this week. Real good piece. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I don't need more Josh Harris in my life.
Okay. So you'll be watching that game closely.
So I'm taking the Eagles will score at least 52 points. Or
50,
they combine.
54.
The teams will combine for at least 54 points.
Yes.
Okay, and you get Josh Harris as a Sixer. All right, last one from me. Straight up here, Zach. The Commanders win the game, or the Eagles win by at least 3 scores, by 17 or more.
Eagles win by 17 or more. Okay. I think the Eagles can blow them out. The Eagles are a much better team than this Washington team. I think we will see that pretty quickly and pretty clearly.
Okay. You didn't even think about it?
No, I did not.
Okay. There is an opportunity to talk, but
I mean, I don't think Washington's going to win this game. They're 9-point underdogs. They're coming to Philly. I mean, I suppose the Eagles are on short week. I saw that Washington-Buffalo game, man. Oof.
Yeah, but it was 16-0 in the start of the fourth quarter, and they got 2 empty trips to the red zone. It could have been much closer.
Yeah, I know you were higher on this Washington team going into the season than I was. I do like that defense. I like the wide receivers, but no, I think the Eagles have a chance to run away with this game.
Okay, well, it's a good chance to talk about FOCO, Zach. Moses FOCO, not Moses FOCO. FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It is the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's football and tailgating season. Overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, everything you need for a game. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY for 10% off. Let me just run down the items here for you, Zach. You have, because we have to pick our golden gooses.
Exactly.
You have DeAndre Swift has at least 100 yards rushing. Sam Howell has a 40-yard touchdown pass. The Eagles have at least 6 sacks. You have the same yard play, 2 receptions of the same yard for an Eagles player. The Eagles lose the time of possession battle. Jacoby Brissett is mentioned by Nick Sirianni. Josh Harris brings a Sixers player into his booth, and the Eagles win by at least 17 points. I have Jalen Hurts throws for at least 300 yards. Casey Toohill makes an impact play. Hassan Reddick gets a sack. DeAndre Swift rushes has at least 150 yards from scrimmage or scores 3 touchdowns. The Eagles win the time of possession battle. Tristan McCollum plays more snaps than Eli Ricks. The Eagles and Commanders combine for at least 54 points, and the Commanders win the game. Do you know where you're going to go on your golden goose?
Yes, 6 sacks. At least 6 sacks.
Interesting. I would have considered that as my golden goose as well. I will go with the time of possession battle. So we got a guaranteed golden goose to hit on the time of possession. One of us will win. Exciting stuff as we try to break the tie here. 1-1 in Goose Wisely. Any other final thoughts before we get into predictions? I guess we know how you feel about the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles are the much better team. I'm curious to see. The injury report has not come out yet, but I imagine that we might see Sidney Brown out per se, or perhaps maybe Justin Evans questionable. I'm just speculating here. We'll see. We'll see there. But the Eagles will elevate Braden Mann. I'm curious what the other practice squad elevation they will be. And
could be McCollum.
It could be McCollum.
Who else is? I mean, it could be Devin Allen.
Garner.
Could be Devin Allen again. Could be Mekhi Garner.
Mm-hmm.
I guess those are the main options.
Yeah.
Do you think Quez is going to play?
I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tougher one for me. And hamstrings with wide receivers are tricky. So I don't know.
And Boston Scott is back.
Boston Scott will play.
Do you think that Rashad Penny will be back and active?
Yes, I think Boston Scott will be active and Rashad Penny will be inactive.
And so do you think Boston Scott will be the kickoff returner?
I do.
And then maybe they don't need Devin Allen up.
No, so in yesterday's practice, of course, Quez Watkins was limited, okay? And that was progress for Quez. So we'll see what happens in today's session. But if Quez is down, will they need another wide receiver?
I don't think so.
Okay. You're cool with
I think
4.
you're okay with 4.
Okay.
Yeah, especially, you don't want to lean into 12 personnel too much, but I think if something really goes wrong and you're down to 2 wide receivers, I think you're still okay.
And maybe you have Alberto up, and he's your extra wide receiver.
I guess, yeah, you could do that.
You're not a big Alberto guy.
You just haven't seen it.
I mean, I saw it at Missouri. I saw it in...
Just like you saw it from Laviska Shenault at Colorado and all those other guys.
Yep.
Okay.
Ole Miss LSU this weekend, right?
If you say so.
I believe so.
Who you got?
LSU.
Okay.
And then, of course, Duke, Notre Dame. Who do you have in that one?
Well, Baldy told me Notre Dame, so I'll go with Baldy.
Who did the Demon Deacons have this weekend?
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you. Of course, for our new listeners, Bo went to Wake Forest as a devoted Wake Forest fan. Was there during the Chris Paul era.
That's right.
And
the Riley Skinner era.
And we used to, before each weekend, go over who our alma maters are playing. Wake Forest is off this weekend. They play Clemson next weekend. So that, of course, is why Bo did not know.
That's right.
Who they were playing.
And who does Syracuse have, Zach?
And let's pull this up here. Syracuse.
So you didn't know at the top of your
I
head.
did know that because Syracuse is a huge game against Clemson at noon tomorrow.
Okay, and who does Penn State have?
Who does Penn State have? Tyler, yeah. Let me see
Wow,
here.
you know what? You think you're paying attention to your wife's alma mater, but
No, Penn State has Northwestern. Northwestern, I knew that. Okay, yeah. I knew that. Northwestern at 2-2 is hosting Penn State at 4-0 because I saw a story this week that Penn State was practicing without music to prepare for the atmosphere at Northwestern.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, you don't usually hear that, but
That's good.
yeah.
All right, Zach, why don't we get into our crystal bald eagle predictions? As we said, I think we know the way you're leaning, but why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, so the spread here is 9 points. The over-under is 43 points. I think the Eagles are the much better team. I think the Eagles are going to surpass this 9-point spread. I'm not even picking it on the line. And I think this game is going to go over because I think the Eagles are going to make it go over because the Eagles, I'm expecting this offense to come alive more.
Do you think this is going to be the offense that we saw last season? You think this is going to be their breakout game?
It. Yeah, I think it's getting closer to it. Should be a nice day from what I understand.
Okay.
It's gonna be in like the 70s and 80s next week. So I think this weather that we've seen is going to dissipate. It's gonna be a nice day. Home game, 1:00. The Eagles can finally get back into their rhythm, and I think they're going to eat on the line of scrimmage, and I think they're going to have big yardage output offensively. I'm going Eagles 30, Commanders 16.
Okay, nice. After correctly predicting the Eagles were going to win last week, which I did because...
That's not true. You did not.
Yes, I did. You must not have tuned into the pregame show.
No, the one you make here on Friday is the official prediction.
That's not true. It's further out. The one that I make on the pregame show is the final prediction. That's the one that is closest to the game. Information changes over the course of several days.
Had the Eagles lost, would you have said you predicted it?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a wonderful gambit that I have created for myself to be able to have a prediction on this show and then also on the pregame show, which you can watch here on our YouTube channel on Sunday at 12:30. with Jamie Lynch and also you from the stadium. That is the one that really matters. So I reserve the right to change this. Information changes, however. I will say I do think the Eagles are going to win this game, but I don't think it will be so demonstrative. I think that the Commanders' defensive line will be able to get after Jalen Hurts a little bit. I resigned last year that I would never doubt, Jalen Hurts again, and I find myself doing it, and I'm trying to ward that off. But I have not seen him play at the level that he did last season, and so until that, I don't expect them to be gangbusters scoring 40 points in the passing game. I think the pass protection has been good, but not great, and so I think that they will have a little bit more of a struggle scoring than you do. But I do think that the defensive line is going to just dominate this Commanders front. I think Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox get in on the action. Hassan Reddick, of course, gets a sack because we need that for Goose Wisely. And so give me the Eagles in this game 27-21.
Okay.
We'll take the Eagles as the victors.
The Eagles advance to 4-0 for the second consecutive season. I appreciate the comment on there from Brian C., who says on the PHLY website, it says $26-23.
Again, published before the pregame show.
Correct, but you can make sure you check out all our content on allphly.com. That's why I appreciate Brian checking that out.
Yes, we'll have our well, I guess it's not a back and forth, but we'll have our game preview as well. All right, Zach, any final words?
I'm looking forward to a Sunday to Sunday here, and we have Sunday to Sunday now for the next 2 months. So it's good. We'll get into a good rhythm. Looking forward to joining you on the pregame and postgame show. I'll be at the stadium, and then we'll be here Monday dissecting it after Nick Sirianni's conference call. We'll be here Tuesday hearing from Baldy, breaking down the film. Then back Thursday, Friday, looking ahead to the Rams game next week. So a big week ahead, and you can see all the coverage here on the PHLY Eagles podcast and then on allphly.com.
There you go. Man's a pro.
And happy birthday to Emily.
He finally got it in.
Many times over.
I was
yes.
worried.
Many times over.
So for Zach and Tyler and everybody else here at PHLY, we thank you for watching. Make sure that you are downloading and evangelizing and subscribing and all that good stuff on YouTube. And we will talk to you on Sunday. Pre-game show at 12:30, post-game show right after the game. For all of us here, we say thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and as always, especially to Emily, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.